This tutorial is for beginner Audacity users. I'm going to try to explain to you some basic functions of the program so that way you can complete any project that you need for in school. I'm first going to refer you to this section right here. These are the primary buttons that you will be using in any project that you use for Audacity. This button here is your rewind button. This is your play button, which you use for after you've recorded and you want to listen to your project. This is your recording button. This is your pause button. This is your stop button. Both your stop and pause buttons can be used while recording or while listening to what you just recorded. And then this is your fast forward button. This here is your selection tool. It's very similar to the mouse tool that you have in Microsoft Word and Microsoft PowerPoint. This button here is your time shift tool, and that will make more sense in a little bit when I explain that. As you're recording, you want to watch this selection right here. You're going to have red bars moving up and down if your microphone is working properly. If it is not, then you need to stop recording and adjust your microphone to however your computer has that microphone set up. If you're using this in school, most of the microphones are built in, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, I'm going to show you how to use recording, the stop, play, all this stuff. So I'm going to hit the record button. And I waited a few seconds before I actually started talking because the computers can be very sensitive and they can actually pick up on that little clicky sound that you do whenever you hit a button. And I'll do this the same time that I'm at the end of a project. Like that. These blue waves here is your voice actually moving up and down. Before entering any project, I usually have an agenda, or otherwise it'll sound like random stuff. Audacity, using these waves and stuff like that, they're great for any audio project, like music audio, radio shows, that kind of a thing. So we have our blue waves, which is the voice actually talking. You can see here, a little bit there, and even here. I talk very loud, so I maxed it out. So that can get a little overwhelming for the listener, so sometimes you might want to go back, redo the project, and talk a little softer, or maybe put the settings of your mic down a little bit lower, so that way you're not hurting the listener, because it does get very loud. You saw that I used this button to start the recording, and this button to stop the recording. Let's say you have to stop the recording midway through the recording and you need to start over again. Do not start from here or from the beginning using that button and pick up where you left off, because what will happen, it'll pick up your voice on top of it and be extremely overwhelming for the listener. Instead, you want to skip to the end, then hit the record button, and then start talking, and so on and so forth. That way it's a smooth transition and there's nothing in the background that you're competing with. Now, just to prove my point, I'll go to the beginning and show you what happens when you try to record over yourself. I will warn you, this will be very loud and very uncomfortable, so you may want to turn your volume down at this time. So this is me trying to talk over myself. It doesn't work out too well. Okay, so like I said, you heard my voice before, and looking at this section, you can tell it's a lot louder than the section up here. That's because not only is this playing, but I'm trying to talk above it. And then depending how my volume is, it will be even more difficult to hear. So I don't like this section, so I'm going to cut it out. And then to show you how to use this time shift tool, I'm going to click on the time shift tool and go to the end of my recording. And let's say I want this spot to line up nicely with this spot, and I have all this section here. So what I can do is I can click and drag and bring them closer together. I can also click and drag and move it in the opposite direction. Now I have these two closer together. but I want to get rid of this section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my selection tool, click, and highlight the section I want to edit. And I'm going to cut it out. Okay, this is your cut button, your copy button, and your paste button, just like you have in Microsoft Word or Microsoft PowerPoint. And this is your undo and redo button. Now, let's say I wanted to make sure that I get these lined up really, really well. What I can do is I can hit the zoom in button, and it brings me a lot closer. So I have this 1/4 of a second, I guess you could say, that I can get this closer. So I can move to my time shift tool, click, and drag the presentation closer. That way I get the presentation to line up a lot better. For right now, this is all you really need to know about using Audacity. I will mention, though, that you will probably want to listen to my second recording, which is on saving and exporting the project, which is a very vital aspect of Audacity that most people have trouble with.